welcome back to Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Summers, and this week Chris and I will be covering the 18th episode of the original English dub of Sailor Moon, titled Worth a Princess's Ransom. Just a quick Facebook reminder, if you guys want the most up-to-date things, you want to see all the screenshots, all the VHS box art, all of the pictures like to the minute when we post it, go follow us on Facebook, Moonstar Sailor Moon podcast there. And of course, check out the website, www.moonstarpod.com. Right now, there's actually a bit of content for you to dig into. Click on the bonus content button right underneath the main, drop spot where you're looking at the spinning moon on the homepage. And you can check out the Nintendo video games section, which is near complete. We're just going to throw, some more screenshots and stuff up there for you, but you can actually find information about all the games. And there's fan translations for some of those games, so you can go read about that. We have the fan dub section up to the point where you can at least see some of the fan dubs that we're aware of. Go check out those different projects. We're planning on putting a fan dub recruitment thing together, so I think that'll be pretty fun when that gets going. Of course, you can check out the Sailor Moon collectible card game expansion website, which is linked on Moonstar. Just go look, and you can also see kind of what our plans are, because bookmark it, trust me, if you like Sailor Moon, you're going to end up spending a lot of time there later. And then the only thing I gotta say before we get into the show is at the end, the sailor ends up kind of spinning into a bit of a real moment, and I reveal a little more about myself to you guys and why I don't know. You'll have to listen to it and see. I thought about cutting it out, but at the same time, we've been doing this show we're coming up on 9 months, 10 months, and I'm just feeling a little more confident with things. We're getting a really great response from you all, and you're making me feel more comfortable to share stuff like that with you. So I hope you guys enjoy that part too. But yeah, let's just get into it. Alright, I'll see you in the outro. How was your week?
Oh, it was good. It was mostly just staying inside for a lot of it because of snow, but the weekend was fine.
That's good. Did you have interviews this week? I can't remember.
No.
So you've actually had a little downtime recently. What do you do with your downtime usually besides you have to tell us about your production artwork, so I know you do that kind of stuff, but what else do you do?
Well, one thing I do a lot is there's 3 anime stores in the Mall of America, and I'm friends with the owner of the main one he's 20 years older than me, but a lot of times I just go there and I'll sit behind the counter and hang out for most of the day and essentially work there.
For free?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds like pretty much exactly what I would do if I was in my mid-20s and in, near the Mall of America. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because that's actually where I got my first Sailor Moon video. Did I tell you that before?
Oh, no, you didn't.
That's also where I got my first Sailor Moon, and the only Sailor Moon collectible card game cards I was able to find as a kid.
Oh.
There was the anime store there. It might still be the same one, but I remember...
Probably not.
It had... Maybe not the same name, but it might be the same location. But yeah, I got the Sailor Jupiter Comes Thundering In tape there, and they had the Wizards of the... That's where I learned about Wizards of the Coast, too, because they did the Pokemon, the original trading cards, and then they had next to them was the Dart flip card section, and that's where I found the Sailor Moon cards. So yeah, I love the Mall of America. Personally, I think you're lucky to live close to it. And also, like, because I live close to things that a lot of people are like, oh, don't you go there all the time? You know, like Disney and Universal and all that stuff. But, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to Florida. I'm sure for you in the cold right now, you're like, how dare you complain? The heat here, like the sun, is painful. like it hurts when you go outside and it's like that super hot. So like I'm not trying to go walk around a hot, smelly theme park with a bunch of tourists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for fun. But the Mall of America is indoors.
Mm-hmm.
And you have all that stuff. Plus, you have a little theme park in there
Yep.
and all that. I don't know. I think it's kind of a cool situation. So tell us, you got some new production artwork that you mentioned last time. Can you remind everybody what that was?
Yeah, I just got it. It arrived yesterday in the mail. It's a related pretty sketch cut of Seiya from episode 193. It's like a little over 10 pages. I got it from the same Japanese seller that I got my episode 166 Usagi and episode 104 group of Haruka, Michiru, Mamoru, Usagi, and Shibuya from.
Which, by the way, for people who want to see that stuff, if you go to our website, moonstarpod.com, you can get a link to his Rubber Slug gallery underneath the host section at the bottom. And then also for right now, until we have the official production artwork section up, that links to his Rubber Slug as well. And is this up there yet?
Yep.
So yeah, if you guys want to go look at it, it's there. We're also going to post it on the Facebook. Can you walk me through like the process specifically for this one from beginning to end of finding it, how that felt for you, how you chose this specific set, you know what I mean, all the way through to today? What was that like?
Yeah, I just reached back out to his name's Naoki, the Japanese man that I got the other cuts from. I remembered him showing it to me last summer, and I didn't buy it at the time just because I don't know, I didn't think I would ever buy production artwork from Stars. But the main reason I bought this one was because Mihoshi Mogasa, who was a character designer for episode 193, she drew the correction sketches in this set, obviously. She also drew my really big sketch from Nightwalker that I have. So I mainly got it for like a art contrast, showing the difference. And yeah, I just bought it from him directly, and then he shipped it immediately, and then it was here within a few days, and that was it.
So when you're choosing one, are you asking what's available or are you browsing and picking? Like, what's that like?
Oh, with him, no. Every time that I got stuff from him before, I asked him, I would give him episode numbers, and if he had anything from the OVAs or movies, and then I would just wait for him to send me photos of sketch cuts that he had, if he had anything from what I asked for.
And you've mentioned before, finding someone who is kind of directly in it, like him, is probably the best way to get authentic stuff at like a good deal, right?
Yeah, it's a lot harder now. I guess it just depends like how long you've been in the community and how young you are and like how respectful you are, I guess, when it comes to asking for things like that.
Yeah, and just a note, when reaching out to somebody like that, this is something that I'm just guessing from, but it's dependent. It can be anything. Like, let's say you're reaching out to someone in Argentina for something that was made there, whatever. It doesn't matter. You probably want to, like, at the very least, Google what's like considered respectful and maybe disrespectful when like communicating. I guess just like some light things, because you don't want to come at them in a way that's gonna like just make them not want to help you or make it harder on. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes for us, we tend to forget that the rest of the world doesn't operate on in the same way we do, especially when it comes to communication. You know?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you and him have a good relationship, and I think what if you had to guess, What would your next production artwork goal be now that you have one from Stars?
I mean, there's still, in terms of Sailor Moon, there's still several episodes, or yeah, like scenes from certain episodes, mostly ones that Ito did character designs for that I would want. But considering he's all out of everything from episodes that Ito did now, and he doesn't have anything else from other episodes that I asked about, I don't know. I just hope maybe sometime I'll get lucky and be able to get another set from under that category from an episode I want. If it comes up on Yahoo Japan or something like that.
I'm guessing if you saw a good cell or sketch set from a Sailor Uranus attacker transformation sequence, you'd probably take it, right?
I've had opportunities to buy some before. I had an opportunity to buy one from her transformation sequence. It was really pretty, but her eyes were closed, so I didn't end up doing it.
Interesting. See, that's always what I think about when choosing cells and stuff, because I was looking through who was it you sent me their gallery for the Amy's First Love stuff?
Oh, Luna, yeah. Luna art.
Yeah. And I noticed that just looking through hers, I feel like certain ones are probably more attainable because it might be like a moment in the sequence where the face is a little odd looking or just slightly too like at an angle that's not the most like presentable, I guess, for a still image.
Yeah.
And I was always curious about what type of things collectors pay attention to when they're choosing something, like if you would consider that or not, you know. And I guess it sounds like you do, because you're like, well, her eyes are closed, so
Yeah.
it's not the best choice for me. Someone might prefer that. I don't know. Okay, well, that's probably enough about that. Do you want to add anything about production artwork today?
Well, I can just talk about that gallery for a little. Luna art.
Yeah.
Luna
Yeah,
art.
tell us about her.
I don't know her super well. I mean, I know that her real name's Lisa, and she lives down south in the U.S. somewhere. She's... I don't think that she collects anymore, but she was/is like the #1 Sailor Moon production art gallery in the whole community, hobby, internet, whatever. She started, I think, in the late 90s, and it's insane, like, what she has. I mean, pretty much anything you could think of, iconic-wise, from every season of nearly any character she has a cell of. She likes Minako and Venus the most. She even has 2 cells from Love and Beauty Shock, which is incredible to me.
That's got to be hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah, she worked really hard. Oh, obviously, and she does sell some stuff now, but I've reached I bought a couple things from her before, back when I wasn't very seasoned in the hobby yet. But yeah, she's really nice, and it's just really admirable, the kind of stuff that she has, and it's all at lunaart.com, luna-art.com, or you can just Google like Luna Art Cell Gallery.
Yeah, and I was looking through some of her stuff too, and it is really, really cool. And it's something I would say, I don't know how long she's been inactive, but just through doing this show, what I've noticed is I think sometimes people just need a little bit of a break from certain things, and she might get back into it in the future or start selling it more actively. You never know. But people burn out, you know, with everything at some point.
Yeah.
If you don't pace yourself. And I think if just looking at her collection, and this is not a read, this is just a human thing that we all kind of do. I don't think she paced herself with that at all. I think she went like really full on, and that's why it's so incredible. But then it also kind of stands to reason, like after doing that for so long, yeah, I would probably want a break, you know?
Yep.
So I'm hoping she comes back to the scene, because her stuff is truly incredible, and I would love to, at the very least, get her full story, because it sounds like she's someone who's been entrenched in the fandom for pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah,
at least
for sure.
In North American standards. All right. I asked you to tell us a little bit about one of your top 3 animes this week.
Japan, 1867. The Tokugawa dynasty stands upon failing legs. An invincible samurai, Kenshin Himura, walks the path of death and destruction, ushering in a new regime. Hated and feared by many, he is known as Hidokiri Batosai, the Manslayer. In retribution for his deeds, he has taken an oath to protect the innocent and never kill again. But old memories seldom fade, and bad habits die hard.
What are you, another wannabe samurai?
I wasn't finished speaking.
Ruroni Kenshin premieres Monday, March 17th at 6:30. Only Toonami.
Because it's one that I used to catch like one or two random episodes from on Adult Swim or Toonami. Usually it was like, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning when I should be sleeping when I was a teenager. But it was, I can't say the first part. It's Kenshin. How do you say it?
Ruroni Kenshin.
Ruroni. I always want to call it Rurori, and then when I think of Ruroni, it reminds me, for some reason, of pasta.
Yeah.
But I always was sort of fascinated by it. The one vague memory I have of is him with like a samurai sword, kind of poofy pants, and then walking through like a desert. But I don't even know if that happened.
That's vague, yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, the series, it's set in feudal Japan. It's about a man named Kenshin Himura who is this really pretty androgynous man with a cross-shaped scar on his right cheek, and he used to be an assassin for the government, and he just mercilessly killed a lot of people. And then now, where the main series of Ruroni Kenshin takes place, he doesn't kill people anymore, and he's like a wandering, just like a wanderer, like a nice person that goes around helping people. And he still has all of his skills and immense power, but he has a reversed blade sword, so he can't kill people unless he flipped it around the opposite way. And it's a legendary 90s series. It's still really popular today. It's getting a reboot series that is coming out later this year, I think. All the trailers are out for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it has three live action movies that were done, and they're probably the best like live action movies based off an anime or manga that exist. And yeah, it's just one of the series that I never get tired of. I've always loved anime or video games that are set in feudal Japan and are like based off of real Japanese history to a degree. And yeah, I could talk about it forever.
I get it, because there is something really, really fascinating about that era. Because, at least to me, it speaks to a history. When you're an American, our history is very dark. And there's no way around that. Like, and we will forever be dealing with that. That's why our country is so wrapped up in things like race, and why we fight so much. Like, it's just, it's just the way our country was built was so, terrible. But then I don't know enough about feudal Japan to know how it was built, but it seems to me like their history leaned a lot more into things like magic and folklore and superstition. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so. That's why a lot of anime back then and now, and whatever anime and manga that are set in feudal Japan, even if they are based off history, a lot of them have, demons in it, and like monsters and stuff like that included too.
And the thing that I also find really fascinating about it, though, is there seems to, in a lot of the ones I've seen anyway, be an element of respecting spirits and treating that world with like a reverence that we don't have here in our general culture here. And I think that's, to me, why it's so much more interesting, because that comes through to me a lot, because I've seen the most of that era in Inuyasha, probably.
Yeah.
And even with that, it's kind of like a lot of the, quote, demons that are doing bad things maybe wouldn't even be doing a bad thing if they didn't have this, like, random shard stuck in their hip. Or, what, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this Ruroni Kenshin sounds really fascinating to me. How many episodes is it total for the original anime?
For the original, canon-wise, it ends after 62. There is a season 3 that goes from, like, 63 to 92, but it's all a filler season.
And then you have the live action and the OVAs, and then whatever comes out now, right?
Yep.
How close to the manga is the anime? Because with Sailor Moon, it's actually pretty different, but there's a lot of manga and anime that are kind of like copy-paste to each other. What's this one like?
Yeah, Kenshin follows, like, seasons 1 and 2, the canon episodes are they follow the manga exactly. Season 1, there's a few filler episodes, but season 2, I don't think there's any at all in season 2. Most people like season 2 of Kenshin the most.
Give me, like, 2 things. One thing from when you were younger and one thing from now that really make you connect to the show, like personal things.
Oh, well, one thing from when I was younger was just because I was so into what I was just saying. Like, when I was a kid especially, I was super into, like, anything that was anime or anime game that was set in feudal Japan. And then older, pretty much everything about the show, or connecting wise, I guess Kenshin's always, like, after there's always a strenuous battle, he usually tells the person that some kind of wisdom or thing that they have to find for themselves that ends up being, you know, true to real life, that you can, you know, relate to yourself, and it's not corny or anything like that. Yeah, I guess that, and then, you know, obviously from an artistic standpoint, I can connect and admire that way more with Kenshin now as an adult. I don't have any of them. I don't have any cells from Kenshin anymore, but I've like, in terms of all the series I've owned the most cells from, like, Kenshin was the one I had the most from. I have a really nice sketch of him from episode 1 now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those would be the 2 things as an adult that I would connect the most to.
Sounds like history is what brought you to it, and then as an adult you kind of are exploring all the different nuances mm-hmm. that the show has, which I'm sure you're experiencing this now, and you'll experience it again later. Like, you can watch the same media several times in your life, and you're going to get something different out of it every time if you're paying attention.
Yeah, right.
Because you didn't have the same life experiences you did, like, you have when you're watching it later, like, as you did. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're going to notice different things. And I like what you said about, in that show, after the battles, he'll kind of give some kind of wisdom, because my favorite kind of media is the kind that has that type of thing put into it, surrounded by all of the, like, flashiness and the magic and the entertainment, because at the end of the day, the human experience truly is learning that, like, nobody truly knows what the hell's going on. Even the people who really, really seem like they should, and I'll bring this to doctors, like, I can't tell you at this age how many times I've been in a doctor's office and I've had a doctor pull out their phone and Google like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something in front of me, because they were like, well, you're describing this, let's just see what Google tells me to give you. And then they prescribed me something so I'm just saying, like, the more you realize that nobody really knows what's going on, and, like, you need to look for those things that ring true in your gut, you know, like, it sounds like when he would give wisdom after a battle or whatever it is, I'm sure there are certain things that he said where you're like, I bet if I apply that to my life, I'll get something good out of it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the way we have to go, at least here, because it's like, you can't trust that, you know, every person you're seeing is gonna, like, have the knowledge that they're even saying they have. At least, you know. I love that. All right, are you ready to get into the episode?
Yeah.
An evening with Tuxedo Mask is cut short when Queen Beryl's evil servants come looking for the long-lost Imperium Silver Crystal, the crystal that will shape the destiny of the entire universe. Will the Negaverse snare it for their own? We'll be right back, and I'll show you.
What's the Japanese title for this one?
Romance Under the Moon, Usagi's First Kiss.
That's cute. I like that. It's better than the English title, which is Worth a Princess's Ransom.
Yeah,
which I'm like
always.
Yeah, which I'm like, there's no ransom in this episode, and also no, like with all the weird edits they made, you're referencing a kidnapping and a ransom. Okay. Anyway, so we kind of start with something that's pretty classic for the first season. What's our intro to this episode?
Oh, the very beginning of it. That's Usagi coming to school, and then Naru is walking past, and she's all sad, and it's the continuation of the subplot with her and Nephrite.
Yeah. Was Serena late in the Japanese?
No, she's just... Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, she is.
Oh, okay. That's what I was touching on, because they really push that whole, DITs can't be on time thing in season 1 really hard. Mm-hmm. Especially in the beginning, and we got to see a little bit more of that here. But then, yeah, she runs into Molly, who, as you said, is in the English, she's trying to figure out if it was a dream or not. What's her level of awareness in the Japanese?
Oh, it's not. Yeah, she knows that it actually happened. She just wants to see him again really badly.
Morning, Molly.
If you say so.
What's the matter? You seem down. Have a bad dream or something?
Well, Molly, actually a mystery meeting sounds rather romantic.
Do you think I'm stupid, sailor girl? I know who you really are!
I guess it was a dream, or else I'd remember more of it.
Hey, we'd better get our rears in gear. If I'm late again, I'll get a detention.
I think that they edited that because they were not sure how to approach this for some reason. And we see some more of that later in this episode, but not even regarding that. This episode has weird editing choices. Who is our, character of the week?
Princess Diamond.
Yeah, how would you describe her?
She just, well, at least with her glasses on, she just looks like a female version of Umino.
That's what I wrote. She's like female Melvin, or Melvin in drag, which they put him in drag at one point, and if they had put a wig on him, he would have looked like that. What is, why are we interested in her?
Heidi-ho! Want to hear the latest buzz? Princess Diamond's in town, and she's having a huge party to show all her family's jewels.
Who's Princess Diamond?
Only the heiress to the largest jewel collection ever. Everybody's dying to see her imperial crystal.
Oh, how I'd love to meet a real live princess.
Oh, I think it'll be a huge bore. My mother's making me go. They invited all the jewelry store owners from all over town. Gee, I sure wish I could get out of it, but my mom's being really rigid.
Ooh, then give me your ticket, please, please. I want to go.
Because she's coming to Japan and in the area of Tokyo that everybody lives in to showcase gemstones that are some family heirloom treasure.
So in the English one, they don't even reference her traveling, I don't think. She just has something called an Imperium crystal. And Luna is like, oh, maybe that's the thing we need. It sounds like in the Japanese it's a little more realistic, I guess. Because I don't know, was it called the Imperium crystal in the Japanese one?
No, it didn't have a name.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be so, direct, towards what they're looking for. Something that I thought was interesting, who chose the target this time? Who chose for them to go after her?
Queen Beryl, technically.
Yeah, we don't get Nephrite choosing because we're getting close to the end of his arc. And Queen Beryl's starting to get frustrated. What does she say about why she hasn't gotten rid of him yet to Zoisite?
Oh, just because Nephrite's really desperate and more angry about the situation than he has before. So she thinks that he'll do a good job finally.
Basically, yeah. Short version, she says desperation is the best motivation, which is kind of gross. but also true. So I mean, there you go. What are Rei and Serena fighting about in the Japanese version?
Well, what?
Do they even fight?
I don't think they really are arguing about anything.
Can we phone? There's no way we'd ever get through. Besides, we need to see her and that imperial crystal she's got. That chance, Melvin told me in detail about security at the embassy. Anyway, none of us even has an invitation. They're not going to let us in the building.
What? You got noodles inside that head of yours to go with the meatballs? We're the Sailor Scouts. We'll figure out some way to get in there.
Why are you always yelling at me, Ray? You're so mean.
I
For
wasn't
some reason, when they're
yelling.
talking about like their plan with Princess Diamond, they had Katie deliver a line about how, well, they're the Sailor Scouts, so of course they can find their way in like a super angry voice. And then all of a sudden Serena's crying and she's like, "You're always so mean to me." And it's like, it felt odd because I'm like, why is this a fight? And I couldn't tell if it was added or what. What does Luna say? Oh, actually, this isn't a question. I'm just going to tell you. In the English one, as they're like, there's this part where Luna just goes,
I wish you'd take this scout business more seriously. You know, there's more to life than chocolate milkshakes.
There's no drink in the scene. They're not at a milkshake place. They're walking down the street. There's something with the people who dubbed this show and milkshakes, and I want to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it comes up a lot. I think that maybe they were getting paid by Big Milk or something. I don't know. That could not have been mentioned in the Japanese. No, I didn't think so. What does Serena turn into with the disguise pen in this episode?
What she envisions to look like as a princess, technically.
Does she call out in the Japanese, like, turn me into whatever? Or does she say something?
Yeah, it's like, turn me into a princess.
Disguise power! Turn me into the foxiest femme around!
In this one, she said, and I might have heard it wrong, but it sounded like, turn me into the foxiest femme around. And I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of an interesting, because it's sort of like terminology that back then is probably not indicating what we think of today, but also sort of works today in a different way. And I thought that was cool. And then she also says,
Once I get in that embassy, after I scope out the food and the guys, I'll get the skinny on the princess. I'll be working really hard.
When you're not eating.
Uh-huh.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
which I just love that jargon. That is such 90s. Like, I haven't heard anyone say get the skinny in such a long time. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, just not, like, in real life.
What does it mean, get the skinny? Do you know?
Just like, get the information on a situation.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. That's why I love this dub, though, because we get this, like, I would have forgotten about a lot of that if it wasn't in here. What kind of event are they going to?
It's a masquerade.
Yeah. And Nephlite has a little pink mask on, which I kind of thought was cute. What is Serena's dad's function here?
He's a photographer.
Right. And in the Japanese, does he recognize her?
No.
Yeah, he didn't recognize her either. In the English, she actually wanted him to see her just to see if he would recognize her. Is it the same?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was kind of interesting. I would be curious too, I guess. I'd be like, how good does this pen actually work? I want to know. Why does she end up running away from the ball?
Just someone spills a drink on her outfit.
Yeah. It was probably a milkshake. I don't know. What does Darian think when he sees Serena running by in the dress?
That he gets some slight memory of the past life that he had, or well, who he really is, whatever.
He gets a memory in that part.
Yeah.
In the Japanese. In the English, he's just kind of like, oh, she kind of looks like that girl from my dream. Like, that's all that really happens.
Oh, that's right.
There.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh, I mean, you could have been right, though, because they cut this episode in a weird way. Oh, I thought Nephlite going evil was animated in between looking really cool and looking confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the animator this week?
It's another episode by Kiyoshi Matsumoto, who did... most of the episodes he did were in season 1. He did, like, Ray's debut episode and the park episode with Ami and, like, the animals.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this one had a couple of moments where I was like, this looks really, really odd. And then it had a lot of moments that looked really, really great. And that's why I had a hard time placing who did it. Because I thought for some reason Darien was animated especially well, but then certain moments Serena looked really strange to me.
Right.
So interesting. I think it's odd that he did the park episode because I really liked the animation in that one. I completely forgot that Molly turns evil for a while. Like, that left my brain for some reason. And her voice actor getting to do that. I know you didn't watch the dub, like the 90s dub of this one, but anyone who does, you have to agree with me, like, she is getting her whole life doing this evil voice because it's still the Boston accent, but it's evil Boston accent. And
sorry, no admittance.
The princess called, said it was urgent. I'm doing as asked.
She didn't tell us. Huh. Princess, this girl says that you asked her to come up here.
Diamond, darling, what's with all the security goons?
You're here. Leave us. You heard me, Scoot. The agency did a really great job.
I just loved it so much because I could tell that she was, like, having the most fun doing it. How was the Japanese portrayal? Was it... it was genuine, right?
Yeah, it was just like an affected evil version of her voice.
I'm going to put some clips in it. I'll send them to you later just so you can hear it for fun, but you guys have to hear it. It's so good. Okay, what is Princess Diamond nervous about?
Oh, that anybody who wants to come into her room and talk to her just only cares about the jewels that she brought and nothing else.
That makes more sense. She was nervous about public speaking in the English one, which I think was them trying to relate to American children. Because that's, like, a big fear in American classrooms when you're young. And I think that it made no sense to me that a princess, even if she was kind of nerdy looking, who, like, traveled around like that, would be, like, not used to talking. So I'm glad to know that was different. Who did she think Molly was when she walked into the room?
She tells the guards that it's, like, one of her friends. And then... yeah.
Why does she let Molly in? Just because she's lonely or something?
Yeah.
She thinks that Molly's supposed to be her stand-in and is going to do the speech for her in the English one. And she's like, you look just like me, as Molly's standing there fully, like, evil with her hair out at the side looking all crazy. And after that... hold on, I'm checking my note order here. I think that happens later. Okay. So after that, it jumps to Serena, like, nearly falling off the balcony, and Darien catches her. Is he a tuxedo mask or regular Darien?
It's tuxedo mask.
Okay, so at some point he's got changed into tuxedo mask, and now he saves her. And then who attacks Nephlite here?
I hate that guy. If he wants to meddle in my business, he's gonna pay for it big. Ugh!
You are when you haven't got all your ugly pals around. Help me, please.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she uses her Mars Fire Ignite or Fire Soul on him. And this is where we see the first, like, really strange editing choices that I've noticed as being like, I don't get it. Serena falls. But then it immediately cuts to her on the stairs, and she's like, which way? And then Darien is like, meet me downstairs outside. And then she's just suddenly downstairs holding an umbrella.
Great! Now help the other girls.
Which way, huh?
Take the stairs down. I'll meet you outside.
See ya!
Yeah!
Hold it right there. Why are you after the crystal?
Because that crystal is the key to the whole universe.
And I've seen the Japanese. What happens in the real one?
Luna tosses both of them an umbrella, and then they grab it and then float down to
safety.
the ground.
Okay,
Yeah.
Not only does that happen in Mary Poppins, a Disney movie where she flies around with an umbrella from a cloud, but like that also happens with Princess Peach. Like, what was so terrible about that they had to remove it? Do you have any insight on that at all?
No, yeah, I don't have any idea either. I mean, the only thing I can think of is just how strict the Canadian, whatever the terminology would be,
the censorship rules.
Yeah, they just wouldn't want kids to think about jumping from high places or something, but
jumping off a balcony. That's probably what it was. They probably didn't want little kids to see that and think an umbrella would save them.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me now. I get it. Because they were really gearing this towards little kids.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to anyway. Because in America, we heard about this kind of a little in I think it was on Fight to the Finish where I put that news clip, or it was around there. But this was like a big thing for the toy companies. And I know Toei is a big toy company in Japan, so they push toys there. But I think in Japan, for some reason, teenagers play with toys more than here. And it's like not that weird. But here it's like toys are generally like marketed towards, I don't know, like not infants, but like toddlers to like, I would guess 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then after that, you're supposed to be doing teenage things, whatever the hell that means. So yeah, I think that was probably why. And honestly, like, I wish they would have kept it in, but I wish they would have just like addressed it in the Sailor Says. Almost. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I think if they would have at least, or even in the episode, they could have edited some dialogue like, you know, thank God these are magical umbrellas because a normal one wouldn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's a really cool looking scene. So it's a shame we had to lose it. I was just checking here. I have notes from, this is sailormoondub.fandom.com if anyone wants to check. Their notes on the censorship, it says, in the original Japanese, both Serena and Tuxedo Mask ended up falling from the balcony, but Luna throws an umbrella to them, which they used as a parachute to land safely. The scene was removed in the dub, and editors made it seem like Serena was rescued by Tuxedo Mask instead. They don't say why, though. I think we're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we figured it out. Cool. Well, I feel better. I thought, like, I made another note. I think Tuxedo Mask looks really, really great in this episode. I specifically like when they animate it so you can see his eyes through the mask, which is usually, like, white, you know?
Yeah.
What did you think of him in this?
Yeah, I agree. I've seen, it's later, I think it's one of the last, like, times you see him in the episode, but the still frame image of him from this episode where it's just his whole face, towards the end, like I've seen that sell on Yahoo Japan, and it looks really pretty because whenever they're like, for example, whenever he does have the eye mask on, but you can see his eyes and there's like that white transparency, that was done with white airbrushes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was always wondering how they did certain things, like, are you talking about, like, the background being bright white? Is that what you mean?
No, like, how you can see his eyes through the mask and how it's kind of, like...
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I would, well, yeah, that, and then also, like, do you know when they have certain scenes that, like, behind... It's, like, two people, and then you see them in behind it. It's just, like, this almost holographic shining white. What is that?
I would have to, like, see an example.
I'll find one and send it to you, and we'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
But... we can touch on that in the beginning with production artwork stuff. Anyway, okay. But yeah, Darien looks great in this episode. What is the Negaverse's goal here? What is Queen Barrel's goal, I guess I should say, because it's, I think, different from Nephlite's.
Well, she is just assuming that the secret treasure that the princess has is the silver crystal.
Yeah, they're trying to steal this treasure, basically. We see Princess Diamond, who has by now been possessed, I guess, would you say, by Nephlite? Is that what's happening? Which, we see the Nephlite, I guess, ghost or dark energy go from Molly into her in her bedroom.
You look just like me. No one will ever know.
Yeah, well, maybe you should get your prescription checked.
What do you mean? I hope you like the taste of that carpet.
You all right, Princess? We heard screams.
Which is pretty cool. And I think that scene, and plus the scene where it gets defeated later, are both used in the English dub's opening. So we have another intro frame moment in this episode here. And I can see why, because I thought it was a particularly unique and interesting... It's not even a monster. What would you classify it as?
No, it's just like, I don't know, I guess it's evil energy familiar, I guess, or extension of himself.
Yeah, like an apparition of Nephlite or something. And it does get defeated, technically. Let's see. How do they get the apparition out of Princess Diamond so they can attack it?
Ray does the Akurio Taisan, the evil spirits be gone.
I call upon the power of Mars! Help us to defeat this mega slime! Mars, fireball, charge!
And I made the note I said already. This battle's used in the intro. Can you describe what the apparition kind of looks like?
Yeah, it's something that you see a lot of in season 1. Just this kind of cool drawn ghost with like purple black cloud with like an evil smiling face.
It's very, to me, this is a specific reference, but Pokemon, the original first generation, Silph Tower, before you have the Silph Scope and you're encountering ghost type Pokemon and they're that weird like ghost sprite, it reminds me of that a lot, but more evil. I think it's pretty cool. I like it. And we talked recently how many episodes would we count, like, okay, how many episodes where monsters are not defeated? Does this count as a monster being defeated?
No, I don't think so.
I agree. I don't think it does, because monsters, especially like when we get into Negaverse Yoma and then Cardians and all that, they're kind of specific, and this wasn't a monster. So yeah, I guess I forgot that. I knew this episode happened, but I completely forgot how the battle happened. After the battle's done, there's a moment between Princess Diamond and Luna, and then Princess Diamond starts freaking out. What happens there?
Oh, she just starts talking, and then after the princess settles down, she just screams and then passes out.
Yeah. What does she ask her? Do you remember? What does Luna say?
It's probably the same in English, maybe.
Yes!
You all right there, Princess?
Huh? I think so. What happened to me? Please, miss, are you the moon princess we've been looking for?
Are you?
Hold on, please. I can't seem to find my glasses. Please, it's very important. Are you the princess from the Moon Kingdom? That cat's talking to me. She's not it. The real princess would have been expecting me.
Gracious, what was that all about?
Well, she just asked her if she was the moon princess directly, which I was like,
right.
wow.
Yeah.
She says that in Japanese too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then, what does the Imperium Crystal / her, what did they call it in Japanese? The, like, mysterious jewels or whatever?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
In the Japanese, it's not really, well, it's not, you can't fully see it, but it's like a mold of somebody.
It's a little statue of her that you can kind of see if you look really, really closely, but the effects they use to put over it, like the shining effects, make it very hard to distinguish what the shape is. I had to pause it a few times, like, and go, and really look to figure it out. We're right about at the end here. We end with this little dream sequence that is a kiss between Serena and Tuxedo Mask. Serena's a princess, I think. And this was the moment that I notated about the animation. I just felt like her eyelashes were a little bit more extra than I was used to, and it just came off in a kind of funny way. And then something about the proportions of her odongos, like, I think they were too small or something. I don't know. But it just felt like a little bit off. What did you think of this part, animation-wise?
I think it does look a little weird, but it's still pretty. Like, it's still the colors are really cool. I know in the Japanese, right before that, Usagi just grabs a martini and she just like downs it, and then she's inebriated, and then it goes to the kissing scene.
Okay, in the Japanese one, we actually get to see her drink a real alcoholic beverage. In the English one, we see her holding a martini glass and falling back against Tuxedo Mask and referencing a party. And there's no indication that she's had alcohol or anything. I knew it was a martini glass as an adult because it had an olive in it and the shape of it. As a kid, I would have just been like, adult party glass. She had juice. Like, literally, that was probably my thought when I saw this. So we're at the end, right before the sailor says, is there anything else you want to add about this episode?
No, I think that's pretty much everything. It wasn't bad, obviously, but it wasn't remarkable or anything either.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just a couple notes. I guess these are kind of trivia things. This is the first time we really hear about the search for the Imperium Silver Crystal in the English one. I think it's probably the same in the Japanese, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I think you didn't mention this, but I think it's the first time that we see Kunzite.
It is, which we call him, I forgot, his name is Malachite in the English, and his name is Kunzite in Japanese. I forgot they changed that, because they didn't change anybody else, really. I mean, they changed Nephrite into Nephlite. But that's so close, Mm-hmm. Why do you think they changed his name?
No idea.
Isn't Malachite just a different stone?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I guess they were like, we don't like the stone Kunzite. It's ugly.
Yeah.
So weird. That really is odd. I don't know why they picked to do that. All right, so the sailor says,
when Tuxedo Mask said he wanted the Imperium Silver Crystal, I didn't know if I could trust him anymore. It'd be nice if we could trust everyone, but there are people in the world who are dangerous. Be on the alert. There are people in your community and other places who can hurt you. Let your parents and friends know where you're going, and don't go places that are deserted or make you feel scared. A place where you are scared is a place where you shouldn't be. Sailor Moon says. See ya!
The basic gist of it is like, you can't trust everybody, even though it would be great if you could. And even though you might be a good person, there's still people in the world who actually do want to hurt you. And it's kind of like all about following your gut and exiting a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's another decent one that isn't corny, I guess.
Yeah, and I actually thought this was really real. And it almost more so for adults, because something I don't hear talked about a lot, but this has kind of been my experience with, quote, being an adult. I think that you trust your gut a little bit less initially in your 20s, because you think, oh, now I'm an adult, so I'm supposed to know what to do or whatever. And then, like, you kind of, that's why I think people in their 20s, it's sometimes easier to end up in dangerous situations, because you second guess yourself when you maybe already felt in your stomach, like, oh, this is not such a good situation,
Yeah.
And I think our society does a disservice to people by telling us the lie that at 18 we're suddenly grown-ups. Because we're not. You're no different than you were the day before when you were 17. And I think anyone who has lived any amount of life, like into their, I would even say mid to late 20s, you probably feel way different than you did at 19 or 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I actually really thought this was very poignant, and I think it's like a lesson that's worth revisiting as an adult, and something that, like, I've had enough wild things happen in my life that I don't want to get into the details on them here, because truly some of them are really, like, frightening. But, like, it's stuff that made me had to re-examine how I approached the world, especially the internet, because being neurodivergent in the way that I am, and then growing up also as a millennial, where we were kind of told, I don't know, our generation had it, we were the first ones on the internet, so it was, nobody knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we didn't have the experience yet. And I kind of went into it from the angle of, like, I'm going to come online and just be exactly who I am, and not lie about anything, say where I live, not like my house address or anything, but, like, you know, say my actual government name, say my age and all that stuff. And, you know, I started doing that probably when I had internet in my house before most people did, because my dad was one of the first people in the world on the internet, which is not even a joke. That's a true thing. We had cable internet in 1993.
Wow, that's cool.
But we didn't live in, like, a rich house either, which is bizarre. Like, we had, like, a low middle class house, but then for some reason had all this, like, odd anyway. But, like, I remember making that choice and then just kind of going with it for, like, 10 years. And then I had to find out later, like, oh, all these people who showed an interest in you just because you were being open and, like, you had this, like, affable kind of, I don't know, overly trusting thing, just because they were being kind to you on the surface doesn't mean that they want good things for you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was revealed to me later in a really, like, frightening way, that I've put time in between that and now, and so now I feel comfortable doing this the way I'm doing it. But I think it's pretty obvious, Alex Summers is a stage name, and I don't plan on using my government name on this show ever. And I don't know if Chris Mayick is your government name. I wouldn't even ask. It is. That's fine, and you might change your mind about that later, but you also might just get lucky and not have the experiences that I had too. But there's no reason why a person on the internet who has never met you, who doesn't care if you live or die, is entitled to your personal information of any kind. And you choosing not to give it to them doesn't make you a fake person. It doesn't make you a liar. It makes you intelligent. And it means that you're advocating for your own safety. Because the world is different now than it was before. And I don't know, like, what makes you feel comfortable being so open online? Can you answer that?
Do you mean in general?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, just especially ever since I have been older, like, I'm just way more confident, and even more so with the interview stuff, it's like you can't really be private and have that kind of career or hobby or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, if I still looked physically how I looked when I was in middle school and, like, early high school, I would probably still be way more private, but it's just about, you know, confidence and doing the kind of stuff that I've been doing for the past almost 3 years now, especially.
I think that's probably, I don't know. I think I might have some stuff I need to still figure out with it too going forward, because when I say, like, Alex Summers' stage name, I'm also trans/gender fluid, and I don't resonate with my, I guess, birth name, and I haven't for a long time for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know where I'm going to land in that aspect personally. Have you ever thought about that? Like, have you ever thought you might change your name for a gender reason?
No, like, I'm pretty, even though, like, I have some women's clothing and I can dress really feminine sometimes, I've always felt like I am a cis man, and I don't have a problem with my name. Yeah, sometimes I don't feel tied down by, like, one gender, but besides that, I'm content with it.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe we're moving in a better direction now. Alright, I think that's it. Do you want to add anything for the listeners this week?
I don't really have anything else that's super exciting going on. I have another Fire Emblem cast interview on Thursday, and then just other stuff that I'm setting up with bigger name people and, like, more Fire Emblem people, like always. And I'm sure there'll be another, like, Genshin Impact cast announcement pretty soon, because the next update comes out in well, the one after this one comes out, like, mid-April. So we'll just be doing more of those people, as I always do.
So more Genshin Impact for sure, rolling through in the future. Who was the last person you did a follow-up with?
Oh, it was Reba Burr, who I interviewed her nearly a year ago, and she's, for people that listen that know modern anime, she's Len in Sword Art Online, she's Nikaido in Dorohedoro, she's Aoi in Demon Slayer, she's Mine in A Sense of a Bookworm, she's Misty in one of the recent Pokemon games. Yeah, so I did a second one with her a couple weeks ago, and she's really nice and fun, and yeah, that was the last follow-up interview I did.
That's awesome. Maybe you'll get some more of those rolling through soon.
Yeah.
I would go look back at some of the first people you did and see if, like, what projects they've done since then, and see if there's, like, anything worth reaching out over, for sure.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess that's it. I'll see you.
Okay.
Bye. That's it for today's episode of Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. Chris and I forgot to rate it during the recording again, but this time I'm remembering to tell you right now. I give this episode 2.5 Moonstars, and Chris gave it 3. How would you rate this episode of Sailor Moon? For me, it was kind of average. I like it, but I think some of the editing choices cut it down. It would have only gotten 2 stars from me, but Molly, like, her actress portraying evil Molly, gave it that 0.5. So that's where I'm coming from here. But I want to hear about it. Comment somewhere on the Facebook page. That's the best way to let us know. Alright, let's get into the plugs. If you want more of Chris, you can find him on Instagram and YouTube at Chris Mayek, ChrisMayek. If you want more of me, Alex, you can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok, kind of, Alex Summers SFE, or just go to VintageAnimeVideo.com or MoonstarPod.com. Honestly, like, that's what I'm doing. And then if you want more Moonstar, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook for sure. But again, website. And I'm putting a lot of work into the website to give you guys a place that kind of it's an amalgamation of everything I grew up with that I want to share with you, that really I was able to hold on to when my life didn't feel so good, when I was a kid. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Here's our disclaimer. Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast, is created for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. We do not claim any ownership of any clips or sound effects used during the creation of this show. All audio effects and licensed materials used during the creation of Moonstar belong expressly to the license and copyright holder.
Finally, I'll be rid of you!
Someone do something! Mercury, how about your bubbles? Well, I don't
quite sure of it.